Well, today, May 25th, as we know here in the United States of America, it's Memorial Day. And Memorial Day is a special day in our country because it helps us to remember those soldiers who died while fighting to keep our country free. It's good for us to remember the sacrifice of others so that we don't take for granted the blessings that we have here in America. We know that Memorial Day recounts history. And we could look back with nostalgia at different wars in which our country was victorious or helped another country regain their freedom. We could look back also with sorrow at other wars in which our country was defeated and we encountered the loss of lives of many veterans. Yet, as Mike Coulter so eloquently said, history repeats itself over and over again, but most of us have short memories. Our tendency, and I'm looking at myself, as humans is not to remember what has happened in the past. Instead, our tendency is to forget what has happened in the past and repeat the failures that others did historically. The nation of Israel is much like that as well. They also have special days like today, like Memorial Day, in which they remember what God has done for them historically. Two of those days are directly related to their exodus from Egypt. Passover, is a festival celebration commemorating God's protection from his judgment against the Egyptians and killing their firstborn. The Feast of Booths as well is a festival of remembrance and reenacting how God took care of the Israelites while they were wandered in the desert because of their disobedience. Another one is Purim and is also a festive day to reflect how God sovereignly protected Israel in captivity against the genocide plot of Haman. There are also several accounts in the Old Testament, especially by Moses, you can see Deuteronomy chapter 6, and others that exhorted Israel to remember historical events. And even though Israel had all of these special days and all of these writings of remembrance historically, they repeated the same sins of idolatry and faithlessness. As Solomon wrote I'm going to quote from the New Living Translation, his history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. We as Christians as well also have both history of regret and victory. It is good for us to remember and reflect upon both failure from sin and opportunities of spiritual growth so that we don't regress. Instead, we depend upon God's faithfulness. As we look back historically at our own lives and the example of others, we can also progress in becoming more like Jesus. As the writer of Hebrews put it, Hebrews 12, verses 1 through 3, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, that's looking back to the faith chapter, Hebrews 11, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. So I want to ask you, how are you at remembering failures and victories? Do you tend to forget and repeat past sinful habits? Because remember as well, it is okay. It's not prideful to remember how you were victorious spiritually when you gave God the glory for all the good he has done in your life. Because God wants you to be all you can be for his name's sake, as his ultimate goal is to make you like his son, Jesus. So that being said, as we reflect upon our past lives, where we made some grievous sins and did some things that aren't pleasing to God. But also as we look back and how God has been faithful in our lives, how he has grown us from out of sin and into being more like his son Jesus. Let's give him all the glory. Let's give him all the credit. And let's not allow history to repeat itself in sinful habits, but let's allow us to progress from one glory to another. May you have a blessed Memorial Day and a blessed week. Thank you for joining me.